Well, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for being here today on a absolutely beautiful day. I want to just recognize a few people who are standing with us and behind me today that joined us but may not be speaking at the podium. I want to thank West Hartford Senator Beth Bayh for being here. I want to thank Representative-elect Ed Vargas for being here. Joe Arsimowitz, my great friend from Southington and Berlin, as well as Sean Wooden from the Hartford City Council, Adam Cloud as well. I want to thank so many of my friends for joining us here today too. We're here today to talk about an issue that I feel very strongly about. That's the issue of making sure that women here in Connecticut have access to the healthcare choices that they deserve. And you're going to hear from two very strong women here in the state of Connecticut to talk about the choice in this race between myself and Linda McMahon. But before I get to that, I want to make a broader point about this campaign and about what voters deserve over the next 6 weeks. Here's what voters across the state are telling me. They're telling me that they know exactly how important their choice is 6 weeks from today. They understand the stakes. They get that they're picking one of Connecticut's two voices in the U.S. Senate for the next 6 years. They understand the national implications of this race, that what happens here in Connecticut may decide which party controls the United States Senate. And so here's what voters want. They want an election that's about them. They want an election that's about the issues that matter to them on a daily basis. Taxes, education, healthcare, war, and peace. My entire life has been dedicated to the fights that matter to these families. I started out up the hill from here, organizing students to picket the state capitol against tuition increases at our state colleges. I helped pass Connecticut's law guaranteeing insurance coverage for women for prescription birth control. I wrote Connecticut's Stem Cell Act, which is putting hundreds of Connecticut workers on the job and saving lives. And I founded the Buy America Caucus in Washington that's bringing manufacturing jobs back to Connecticut. I've led the fight for decent housing for the most vulnerable of Connecticut's residents, authoring a bill to triple the number of supporting housing units that we build in this country. And I've been a strong, consistent voice to bring the $2 billion a week that we're spending in Afghanistan and bring it back home so that it can support the middle class. So it is frankly no surprise that Linda McMahon is using baseless, despicable personal attacks against me and my family. She is scared to death that this election might actually be focused on my record of fighting for Connecticut's families and her record of fighting for absolutely no one except for herself. Linda McMahon knows that she can't win this race if it's about the differences between her record and mine when it comes to standing up for the middle class. She's destined to lose this campaign if it's about the differences between what I do in the United States Senate versus what she'd do. Her campaign said the other day that talking about the issues is a senseless exercise. Well, Linda McMahon's right about that. For her, talking about the issues is a senseless exercise. It's a prescription for her to lose this campaign. And so she's resorted to lies, to smears, to personal attacks every hour of the day. And we've seen it before. She did it 2 years ago against Dick Blumenthal. And it didn't work then, and it's not going to work now. Now listen, I've made mistakes with my personal finances, but I've paid back what I owe. And independent analysts who've examined Linda's lies have declared them to be false and out of line. But what is truly stunning is that while Linda McMahon has been launching hundreds of thousands of dollars in attack ads against me and my family, she hasn't been paying her own bills. This is hypocrisy of truly mind-blowing proportion. And it just shows that Linda McMahon is never going to let the facts get in the way of a good personal attack ad. So here's my challenge to Linda McMahon. Now that your hypocrisy has been laid bare, will you join me in making this campaign about anything, about something that matters to the people of the state of Connecticut? Like taxes, for instance. Voters deserve to know the difference between Linda McMahon and I on taxes. I don't support another round of tax cuts for millionaires. I think we should use that money to pay down the debt and support middle-class families here in Connecticut. McMahon supports another round of tax cuts for the wealthy, including a $7 million tax cut for herself. Let's talk about that. That matters to people. How about Medicare? Voters deserve to know the difference between Linda McMahon and I on Medicare. I will fight with every bone in my body to stop Paul Ryan from dismantling and privatizing Medicare. But Linda McMahon's been pretty clear that she'd support his plan. Voters deserve to hear the differences between the two of us on Medicare. Or how about manufacturing? Voters deserve to know the difference between Linda McMahon and I on manufacturing. I support keeping our government jobs here in America. And Linda McMahon supports continuing to give tax breaks for companies that outsource. Or today's subject, women's health care. Voters deserve to know the difference between Linda McMahon on the issue of women's health care because the difference is gigantic. Now, my record on this issue is clear. In 1998, I built a coalition of women's groups to take on and defeat one of the leading anti-choice, anti-women Republican legislators in Hartford. And a year later, I was instrumental in helping Connecticut pass a landmark law that guarantees insurance coverage for birth control. In Congress, I helped lead the fight to pass health care reform, which says once and for all that a woman is not going to be charged more for health care insurance simply because she's a woman. And in that bill, I authored a provision which sets up offices of women's health care at all of the major federal health care agencies to make sure that women's voices are represented when decisions are being made about their health care at the federal government. And as a senator, I will never, ever support a leader of my party or a chairman of the Judiciary Committee that will support anti-choice, anti-woman candidates for the Supreme Court. Now, Linda McMahon has a very different vision for women's health care. She might be telling people over the course of this campaign that she's pro-choice, but her election would virtually assure that the United States Senate would be run by right-wing leadership that will work every day to overturn Roe versus Wade and criminalize a woman's right to choose. She wants to repeal the law that would end the practice of women being charged more simply because of their gender. And she openly advertises that she'll side with the right wing in allowing any employer in this country to arbitrarily deny women access for insurance coverage for prescription birth control. It's pretty unbelievable. When it comes to women's issues, on issue after issue, Linda McMahon stands with the most conservative Tea Party element of her party against Connecticut women. And when she's been confronted with these positions over the last couple days, her response has been just as unbelievable. She says that women shouldn't pay attention to her position on these issues. They should just pay attention to her gender. That's insulting. And it's no surprise, because that's Linda McMahon's entire strategy for the next 6 weeks. She's trying to pull one over on the people of this state, trying to blind people with vicious personal attacks, all untrue against me and my family, so that they don't pay any attention to the right-wing agenda that she stands for. I'm not going to let her get away with it. And the voters of this state aren't going to let her get away with that either. Now listen, that doesn't mean that my record in the state legislature or in Congress isn't fair game. It doesn't mean that Linda's record at the WWE isn't fair game either. It is. Both of our professional records should be part of this campaign. But that's where the focus should be, on our professional records and on what we do in the United States Senate. That's what the voters want from this campaign. That's what they're dying for. A conversation about the differences between Linda McMahon and I on the issues.